Hello everybody, my name is Yuji. Since the release of Jujutsu Kaisen, there's been many people speculating about how strong Yuji Itadori could potentially be. The recent module is what gave people further energy into making assumptions about what Yuji could be capable of. Now, for this video, it'll be a little bit different from the main tools that you see usually on the YouTube algorithm. It'll more so be a video where I will involve the Superpower Wiki and try to overanalyze some of Yuji Itadori's arsenals. In a way like a Superpower Wiki member would. If you don't know what Superpower Wiki member typically do, then I encourage you to watch the video, as you'll see very soon about how I'll exactly demonstrate the way I run out of things. Now, in today's video, we won't really go down over Yuji's physicals, mainly because there's been other creators that have done it before, and I really want to do something that's not part of the typical things that YouTubers do. Now, in Modulo, we managed to see Itadori a few times before. Both cases, he hasn't really showcased his arsenal yet, and it got people thinking of what could he be capable of. After all, it's been 68 years since the main events of Jujutsu Kaisen timeline. Now, the first thing we're going to explore is the control over Black Flash, by the fandom calling him the King of Black Sparks. With the Black Flash, it's basically an ability that boils down more towards potential enhancement and critical damage. As for Black Flash, it's a phenomenon in Jujutsu that greatly amplifies the use of physical strikes when curse energy is applied to it within a 1 minute of a second. Now, how the Superpower Wiki would define his power, as I said before, will be defined as a critical power. Now, what that exactly means is that it would induce critical damage onto whatever it lands on. It means to stack that damage on top of itself in order to land more of a harder hit onto the target. Though I did make a mention earlier of how it's a potential enhancement. Now, when I say potential enhancement, I believe the term best for it would be a power where it simply enhances the potential of something else. Now, for the potential of Yuji Itadori, it will be the development of the arsenal. Now, with Yuji Itadori being capable of landing simultaneous Black Flashes onto his opponents, it's been very interesting to see how he's managed to develop, as overall Itadori is capable of invoking the Black Flash against his enemies multiple times in a row. Now, I'm not going to say Modulo Itadori because he's Black Flashes as well. I can however say that I believe this version of Itadori has an increased chance of landing Black Flashes than ever before. The Black Flash is capable of being a refresher to Itadori, bring out that 120% potential. It's been a lot, I would say. I thought it's been 68 years. Now, there's no guarantee of Black Flash landing. However, Itadori holds the most higher percentage of Black Flash occurring than any other sorcerer combined of this decade. I'm not going to involve Gojo or Sukuna into this argument because, again, the focus is on Itadori. If we were to go by greatest sorcerers, he possibly holds the most potential of a Black Flash occurring than a special grade. Now, I really actually make more of a mention to Black Flash being an amplifier because I don't think people really get that. See, when it comes to Black Flash, it becomes an amplifier solely because it means to refresh the curse energy pool. Now, it can't be stacked. It can't be stacked. Black Flash alone is something that simply brings out more potential out of you. Bring out the same potential over and over again if you manage to land a successful hit. Think of Black Flash as entering into a flow state, how athletes technically do. With that, they bring out more of their energy into the fight, as well as getting that mentality of keep going. With that mentality being brought back, they bring the cursed sorcerer to make improvements onto themselves during the fight. This could go on to explain how Itadori managed to learn more of his techniques over the years, and this could be definitely showcased with the next power that we'll be diving into. The most creative technique in Itadori's arsenal involves the mastery of blood. Now, we see in the Shinjuku Showdown how Itadori manages to utilize blood manipulation in close combat. The panel of him shooting a piercing blood close range to Sukuna, as well as spitting blood onto Sukuna's face, is how he typically would use blood manipulation, managing to utilize in a style that benefits him the most in close quarters. But what happens after 68 years of Yuji consistently being in his prime? Itadori isn't limited by experience anymore like it previously was. Some potential ideas I have for Yuji Itadori managing his blood manipulation, similar style of Chozo's, will involve more with his perfection with convergence. Considering his difficulty with it during Shinjuku Showdown, he had to rely on Chozo in order to do convergence. Another thing I think that Yuji Itadori would be capable of in Modulo would be a piercing bloodshot. I'll say in a style more like shotgun style. It does differ a little bit from his usual fighting style due to his close quarters combat preference. Though there's been times where he does prefer long range combat. Sometimes. He's more of a brawler, but you know what I mean. Some further applications of blood manipulation he could very well develop from the blood edge, where he can make gauntlets in order to increase strike potency. But there as well could be more things that Yuji Itadori could be capable of. This thing is winking, the technique. A technique that reshifts the blood flowing from Itadori's back into possibly wall-shaped wings. This could very well help with his mobility and make him far faster than everything we've seen before, possibly breaking that match limit that the verse is held by. And we could very well dive into more about Wind King 2 where it isn't limited to just wings. You could very well have remastered it in order to give it more of an edge in combat, such as managing to make an extra pair of arms, such as 4 arms, or 3 if you want to. There as well goes to mention about the flooring rated scale stack. It's a stackable ability that Itadori could definitely use. It's very similar to the power of, from Superpower Wiki, Blood Empowerment. Obviously by the name, Blood Empowerment is capable of being empowered by your own blood. This stackable ability can definitely help Itadori become more of a brute force, especially when it comes to his combat, considering that flooring rated scale stack can definitely stack on itself, as mentioned before, giving more of a durability, speed, and strength advantage to Itadori. To expand a little bit more on blood manipulation, I believe that there could be definitely more that Itadori could do, such as that buckshot move that Choso was capable of doing, though there's also more. The awakening of Shrine happened during the Jujutsu Showdown. Lightning of Black Flashes will awaken it and drew out Sukuna's curse technique that was ingrained into Itadori. But how much can this technique be improved upon during the 68 years that happened in the Kaisen timeline? Personally, I needed the oversupplied understanding of Yuji's Shrine, so thanks to Monogatari for explaining it properly, I see him as a credible sword, so based off of Yuji's potential technique off of that. In this video, he goes to explain about Yuji's dismantle not necessarily being a contact-based attack. Rather, it's a binding vow that removes a distinct aspect of the attack in order to target the soul. With the removal of the binding vow, that leads Yuji to have a ranged fighting style whenever he pleases. Now with the capability of being able to remove the binding vow, it leaves Itadori capable of turning his property on and off, removing the contact-based binding vow on a technique. This is where soul interaction applies here. Same with the binding vow, it allows Itadori to directly attack the soul. I mentioned before, soul interaction allows a person to perceive the soul and attack it directly. This is very interesting considering that how much the soul takes to heal itself. The soul properly being turned on and off by will of Itadori, he's capable of entirely making it long range or short range if he desires so. More applications of Sukuna's arsenal could belong to Itadori with the soul property. Cleave, a attacking attack that adjusts itself depending on the target's toughness and curse energy, as well as adjusts itself to the soul too. Definitely hit all tiers of durability: physical body, curse energy, and soul. Now this is not exactly a soul mutilation. This is rather more so soul interaction, as mutilating the soul can make irreparable damage. We'll go over the soul mutilation more soon. Now there's a comment on Malnaga's video that I do particularly enjoy. It was Yuji Itadori's version of Roll Cone Slash becoming Soul Cone Slash. This is where soul mutilation comes into effect. Soul mutilation of doing irreparable damage to the soul, introducing a little possibility of having RCT taken into effect. Now, there's little possibility of Itadori having this technique, considering there's no scenarios in Modulo so far that have been exactly able to push him that far enough. Again, we saw with Sukuna how Gojo was a true threat, especially with his infinity. So having Roll Cone Slash becoming Soul Cone Slash for Itadori doesn't really make sense. But then again, this is a headcanon video, and we're going to discuss the most interesting piece, topic of Fuga. This discussed on Modulo Yuji having Fuga unlocked. Once we're giving Modulo Yuji the thought of having Soul Cone Slash, I said we could see the thought too. Due to Sukuna possessing Yuji during the Shibuya incident, he managed to do the fire arrow technique in his body. Now the fire arrow technique could have been pulled out sometime during Yuji Itadori's career. Fire arrow technique could have been developed into Itadori's arsenal during all the years he managed to hit the black flashes. After all, it's been 68 years. Would he be capable of learning Fuga? I would say yes. But I don't think there's been anything in his career so far that have pushed him to learn Fuga. After all, it's quite a destructive technique. The idea of black flashes he could have done his entire career so far, I say there's a good probability that he's capable of learning Fuga. However, I don't really think there is a chance for it to be in his arsenal, due to the fact that Itadori could have, well, not faced any circumstances where it would have pushed him to learn Fuga. But if we were to imagine it, I'll say Fuga would not be a fire arrow, rather it would be repurposed into Fire Fist. The way Sukuna uses fire arrow, it'll be very different with how Itadori uses the same technique Fuga. You add transmitting around his fist in order to create a burning effect whenever he hits somebody. Maybe it could be coupled with a black flash and divergent fist. It could really pack a punch. I believe this is a unique take on fire arrow due to the fact that it repurposes Sukuna's technique into his own, much like how Soul Shrine technique is, purposed in order to fit Yuji's fighting style more than Sukuna's playstyle. By that, I think we just end the video. I'm not going over reverse curse technique, soul perception, reverse techniques, or domain expansions. Maybe reverse techniques in the future, since no videos are made about it, and it could be an interesting topic. With that, the video concludes. Hope to see you around again as I become the Superpower Wiki's representative.